You've tamed the voices in your head. You've put your courage to the test. Laid all your doubts to
Hi everyone, welcome from your Intuition Queen to a new episode of Intuitive Queens podcast. Today I have the pleasure to have with me Diane Foy, who is a publicist, podcaster, and coach for musicians and actors. Hi Diane, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So you are coaching musicians and actors. I think this is super cool, but I'd like for you to tell us how you got to where you are now and how intuition played a role in your life or your career.
Okay. So I've had a lot of careers, and I don't know, maybe sometimes I didn't follow my intuition, doing what I thought I should do. When I was young, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to be entertainment industry because I just had such a passion for music and film and TV and performers. I think because I was so shy that I admired performers because they were just so extrovert and put themselves out there and being so creative and full of personality, where I was always kind of hiding. So, so the first thing I decided I wanted to do was to be a photographer, because I figured I like photography, and that's a way in to take pictures of rock stars, musicians, actors, performers, models. And so I followed that path. Did a 2-year intensive photography program. I'm from Vancouver, BC, based in Toronto now. And so, yeah, I worked my ass off for a long time on photography, and tried to do that for a while. I also went to makeup school, originally just for my own photography, and tried to kind of freelance. And because I really only cared about performers, it's hard to make a living doing photography or just that, especially when you're starting out. So I moved to Toronto thinking bigger city, bigger things. And I ended up getting a job at MAC Cosmetics and kind of dropped photography and was a makeup artist for 8 years. And I loved it because it wasn't necessarily music and film industry, but it was fashion.
Right.
And it was just so exciting. And back then, MAC girls, we would be so proud that we worked for MAC. We'd have our necklaces on, and it bypassed the line in clubs because we were MAC girls.
That's so cool.
MAC started in Toronto, and so in the early days, MAC was like, oh, MAC girls, yes, they could pass the line. Let's go. Yeah. we were the rock stars, so it was a lot of fun. I always did stuff on the side, though. I had a full-time job at MAC, but then I also, on my own time, would be doing makeup for musicians, actors. I would do music videos and photo shoots and stuff on the side all the time. So I did that for 8 years, and then I started to hate my day job. MAC got kind of corporate, and it was less creative anymore. Like before, we would just be creative all the time, and now it was all about sell. We don't really even care if you're a good makeup artist, as long as you could sell. So I just started hating my job, and I'm like, I'm bored of this. I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was like, not this. But I always wanted that secure job. I was too afraid to take that risk and just be freelance full time. It was not me. I was maybe too scared of that. That's why I never really did it with makeup. I always had that full-time job and did stuff on the side. So I just kind of was figuring out, okay, what do I want to do? Obviously, I want to be music industry. I even tried journalism. I'm like, that's not it, writing about music. And so obviously I wanted to be in the music industry. So I decided to go back to school um, for entertainment management. And that meant going at least part-time at my job, giving up some money and security and benefits. But that first semester was just intense because I think I went to school 5 days a week. I worked 4 days a week. I
Wow.
did not have any days off or anything. And then plus going to my day job, I hated it. There was so much tension. Everything was changing, and new management was treating everyone horribly. And it was just a lot of tension. And I just broke. I broke. A little nervous breakdown. I just couldn't take it anymore. It was too much pressure. So I left. I left that job, and for the last semester, I just kind of did school. And then when I finished school, I think because of that, I did not want that corporate job again. It's not like I was going to go work for a major record label. I was like, no, that big company. I was just I couldn't do it. And I think because I didn't have any job, I kind of had to make it work. So publicity is kind of the main thing. Even before I went back to school, I thought publicity, that's kind of fits with my experience and what I do and what I like to do. I like promoting the artists that I am passionate about. So when I finished school, I just kind of started working for friends' bands for free. So just to get the experience and get the contacts with media, and I started just getting my friends' bands press publicity. And I got a full page in our main newspaper for a band, and they had a manager who was just kind of like, what? Bring that person in here, because he's like, new publicist, they got you that? Come here. And so he started hiring me, and then more and more, like, the people that have been in the music industry for a long time started to notice that there's this new publicist that's new and passionate and hungry for it. So he started hiring me, and so that happened pretty fast. And from there, it was 16 years of a roller coaster of busy, everything's great, to nothing. Like, I think most freelance people understand that roller coaster. They've experienced that. It's like it all comes at once, and then nothing. And then in the nothing times, you're going, now what? Do I got to, at some points, it's like, do I got to quit and get a real job because I have no work? And then overnight, you get like 5 jobs. Like, it's just like crazy like that. So it just kept doing that. There's been some times over the years that somehow I've managed to stay in business this long, but there have been times where I just, wasn't into it anymore, and it was so hard. There was a time, maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago, 4 or 5, that I was like, you know what, I think it's time. I gotta find a real job. Like, steady paycheck and benefits sounded really good to me at that time. So I went after it, but I was kind of caught in the overqualified, underqualified. Because, the entry level positions probably made more money than I did, but I was overqualified. They wouldn't hire me. Agencies said I had no agency experience. And I'm like, I thought I ran my own, but okay. I ran my own for 10 years. And then, it just, and I think, but ultimately, I didn't want it.
Yeah.
I chased it.
Yeah.
and none of it worked out. But I think it's just because, deep down, intuition, I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I was chasing it for the wrong reasons. I didn't know how to make this thing work. And because publicity changed a lot, it's harder and harder to get press for artists, especially like the starting out artists that weren't already a household name. That's the challenge. Like, there's a lot of publicists that they work with the celebrities. They work with. It's easy to get them press.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I always liked helping out the up and comers, and so it was really hard. And it got to a point where I just didn't even like publicity anymore. And so I spent a year and just kind of went with the flow. I had no plan. I decided to give up my company name, which was Skylar Entertainment, with my PR company. But I always had so many things going on. I'm multi-passionate. I started doing photography again. I started making jewelry, and for a while I had like a mental health blog, and I kept all these lives separately on separate different websites, because that's the old advice of like, you can't confuse your audience. You need to, pick one and stick with it. And so all the other stuff never really came to be because I don't have time to focus on, 3 different websites, 3 different promotions. And I decided that I'm just going to put everything on dianefoy.com and see what happens. I didn't know, maybe I'd do photography again. Maybe I would be a photographer and concentrate on that. Maybe something would change in PR and I would do more PR. Maybe I would do jewelry. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just going to brand everything on dianefoy.com and see what happens. And everyone told me that was a horrible idea.
Of course.
Horrible idea. Because the old advice, you need to pick one thing, stick with it, promo that. You're going to confuse your audience. They go to a website and you're a publicist and a photographer, what? And then there's this art over here, and but I'm like, I knew I was right. I think that was just trusting intuition, because when everyone tells you it's a horrible idea, and I'm like, but Kathy Ireland has like a furniture line, and people would be like, yeah, but she has people. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm still doing it. And then along the lines, I think maybe we talked about it before, the Emily Warpick, maybe not. She has a TED Talk, and it was all about being a multi-passionate,
Yes, I think we did. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, and so I watched that TED Talk, and I was like, oh my God, she's talking about me.
And also Marie Forleo, it's what she keeps saying to everybody, you just have to be clear on who you serve, but then you can serve that person in so many different ways.
Yeah. And so I knew I was right. You can make a career doing a lot of different things. So that year I did some photography stuff, did some PR stuff, and just kind of floated. But by the end of the year, I went to this, there's a workshop put on by the Canadian government Arts Council about personal branding for artists. And I'm like, even though I kind of do branding in what I do, I was curious. I was like, well, it'd be a good opportunity to meet other artists and also just see what this teacher coach wants, teaches you. And so it was free. I went. And it was really great. She asked good questions of, when you're doing all these million different things you want to do, which one will be easiest to implement and make you money the fastest? Everything else you can come later, but like, what is the thing that of all the million things you want to do, what is the easiest and to do, and also that would make you money fastest. And I kind of was like, well, I guess consulting, like sharing with musicians, actors, performers, all my experience in promoting and marketing and business and all that. So I was like, consulting, I guess. If I maybe focus on that, that would be something I could do and, make money, and then everything else come later. And then I kind of realized that she was a coach. And I was looking up the difference between consulting and coaching, and it was like a light bulb moment. Coaching, that's it. Because the thing with consultant, even as a publicist, people are always asking me to take over their social media, and I was like, I don't want to do it for you. I'll teach you how to do it.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it. And I also think with things like that, you should be doing it yourself because it's you. So I can't pretend to be you. And so I was always kind of like, no, I'm not doing it for you, but I'll teach you how to do it. And that's kind of coaching. So within 2 days, I was enrolled in a coaching program, plus taking other courses on Udemy. I discovered online courses, and I got obsessed because I'm multi-passionate. And when we discover something new, all in.
The rabbit
all
hole.
in. The world stops. We do nothing else but obsessively learn new things.
Yeah.
And so
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Completely.
Nothing else exists. So yeah, it's like,
it's good, but it's terrible in a way, because you're reading something, you're learning something, they talk about something else, you're like, oh, what about this? And it never ends.
Well, especially with online courses, like the point was to learn coaching, but all of a sudden I'm taking pet courses, and then I went a little too out there with, I'm going to do everything. That putting everything on DianeFoy.com, I was like, I'm going to be a coach for pet owners. And it's like, okay, no, seriously, calm down. So of all those coaching things, I did learn that you do have to niche down. You do have to. And I think it helps. So I was like, I don't want to give up anything. I don't want to just pick one thing and stick with it. But someone just said it makes sense that if you don't have to say you're giving up these things, it's just they're on hold. So I kind of put photography, jewelry, all the other extra stuff that I don't really make a living at, they're on hold. And I went all in on coaching. I still do PR. And then to promote, I kind of thought podcast. I'll start a podcast, because that's a way to promote yourself and be able to talk to successful musicians and actors. So I love that. I got to talk to Michael DeBar yesterday. I was such a big fan. So yeah, I get to talk to cool people. But the point of the podcast, Sing, Dance, Act, Thrive, is I do some solo shows, trying to coach on a certain subject, but mostly it's interviews with thriving artists, because I focus on working with up and comers who are not there yet. I ask them about the journey. It's like, okay, you want this guy's career, but let's hear about the ups and downs that he went through. It's not all easy.
No.
And you have to, it takes a certain work ethic.
The big where you are to get to that point, like we will start thinking that person has so much, and you want to go there straight away, but there is so much happening from the starting point to what you actually see.
Yeah. And artists, we all want something now, like even with what I'm working on, it's like, seriously, am I not there yet? Like,
oh yeah, it's my question every day.
Like, why is it taking me so long to learn? I don't know. Like,
and then sometimes I have friends or either my coach like, Mara, can you just go back 6 months ago and just make a list of the things that you achieved and you've done and da 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 da. And so sometimes, especially when you have a coach, they make it for you. And I'm like, oh, actually, I did do a lot of things, but we have this forward thinking where we need to go forward and we forget to look at what we actually achieved to get to where we are.
Yeah, I always just say that everything's going to take longer than you think, longer than you wish, but there's no shortcut.
Yeah.
You know, and I work with musicians and actors, and they're like us, like creatives that are impatient, and that's why I get a lot of people coming to me as a publicist. That's also another reason why I got into coaching was people would come to me for publicity, but they didn't have everything that they need in order for a publicity campaign to be successful. So earlier in my days, I could do publicity for artists that didn't have everything going on because it was easier to get press. Like I could, as long as the song's good, people like the music, okay, we could do it. And now there's no music outlets really. Like there's no, all the kind of television stuff, they kind of cut their music or entertainment stuff. They only kind of do the celebrities. And then the newspapers, the weeklies and the dailies, at least in Canada, they've all gotten rid of their music writers and entertainment writers.
Right.
They've gotten rid of that section. Yeah, so they come to me, they have a music to release, or they got like a small part in a television show or a film, and they're like, I need a publicist. But then they don't really have a social media following. They're not active on social media. Their website, they don't really have a good bio. The bio basically is like, I'm yet another musician with a song. I'm yet another actor who has a part. Like, who cares? So I'm always like, I don't think I can get you anything, but now at least I can coach you to get there. Whereas before I would have to send them away and go, well, once you get this, this, and this done, come back.
Right.
And then they're left going, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So now with coaching, I can, and I even with the coaching program, everyone wants to skip the first 3 months, you know? Let's get to the working on my website. Let's go to the social media. And it's like, but you got to know what to post. And that foundation part of which I'm sure you coach on too, is that your core values. What do you really want in life?
Yeah.
And then goal setting. Because also with the goal setting, you might want this, you know, you want to be a rock star, you want to be touring the world and all that. But then if your values are family and security, and like, you're chasing the wrong dream. Yeah,
exactly. I think that it's values are so important because, you know, even in going to an interview for a job or meeting a person or deciding to go on a partnership with someone, if your values don't match the company, the person, the partnership, whatever, then you're gonna maybe start well, but then it's gonna end up being like, this is not what I wanted. And so if you want something that lasts, you have to check your core values and make sure you follow that, because otherwise you get lost in the way.
Yeah. And like everything that I coach on, like just even through coaching myself and learning this, like I've learned that, you know, it's sometimes you're chasing the wrong dream, and maybe a lot of times I was chasing the wrong dream because, you know, if I want to be a publicist, so I would look at other publicists and what they're doing, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's what we got to do. So I would start doing these things, and it's like I didn't enjoy it. It's not, you know.
before we get into more of what you do, I kind of I like your story, and it sounds from here that everything flowed very well. Like even when you didn't know what to do, when you find yourself like from going from photography to makeup, or it sounds like you kind of took it quite easily. Be like, okay, so what do I do next, or what can I do? So I'm a little bit interested in how was the shift for you from a career to another in terms of how you felt? I know from what you said that stability obviously was important, and so that was always at the back of your decision. But what else was going on for you whenever you came across being like, okay, now I need to change, I need to do something else?
I think when I was younger, I would stay in jobs longer than I should have.
Mm.
Because of that security, and it's a risk to change. So I kind of think, well, I should have moved to Toronto years before I did. I should have quit Mac years before I did. But then I think maybe it takes me to get to the point of being unhappy for me to make that change. Because as long as it's tolerable, it's like you could do your fun stuff on the side, but it just came to that I can't do it anymore. And changing from one thing to the other, I think it was kind of easy because a lot of times it's because I'm so over what I was doing. Not necessarily photography to makeup, but it just photography to makeup was a fluke. Like I moved to Toronto to do photography, but fell in with makeup, and it was new, exciting. It was, I loved the people I worked with. It was just an unexpected job path that I went on.
Right.
But I think in the end, it's not the makeup I loved. It was, again, I wanted to be around musicians and actors and all that. And so publicity, changing to that. So going back to school and was kind of like I hate my job. I got to do something. I got to change.
Right.
I got to figure out what it is that I really want. Obviously, I want to be in the entertainment industry, and all these things like photography, makeup are just kind of on the outskirts of it. And I'm like, I want to be in it. I want to actually work directly and have an effect on the careers of entertainers. And so publicity was that avenue, and I loved it. And then going to coaching, I think it's ultimately, finally getting to what I've been chasing. Is that because even publicity, there's a separation between me and the artist. Like, especially if they have a management team and a label team, I don't necessarily spend a lot of time with the artist. It's, I'm publicizing them. Whereas coaching, it's an intimate one-on-one, and that's kind of what I'm best at anyway. It's like, even with my friends, I'm much better one-on-one than in a crowd, talking to a crowd. So quality conversations are usually one-on-one, me. And so coaching an artist, it gets personal. It's, and it's been amazing that after a few sessions, they say it's life-changing. Finally making a difference.
Yes.
And I've learned it myself too, going through my own journey, and then also having my own coaches. Like, okay, everything I'm teaching them or coaching them on, I've gone through myself.
Yeah.
And I've figured out how to do these things. So
yeah, completely.
I can help them.
Yeah. So for artists, I guess, like let's put aside the usual, you're not going to make any money, because I think that's what has always been said about being an artist. What are the struggles that artists are coming across right now? Because I feel like there is a little bit of shift in mindset around you're not going to make any money, because it feels to me there are more artists out there that are proven actually this is wrong.
Yeah.
Because we both know it's all about your mindset and the actions you take to get to where you want to go. So for you, what is the thing that blocks most of the creative people that you work with?
Some of them are stuck in the old way the industry was. There are still, I don't really get how, but there are still young musicians that think the key to success is getting discovered. You know, getting discovered, getting a manager, getting a record deal, and getting an agent, and they'll just do all the work for them. And that was the way it was in the 80s, sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
This is what we've been watching on TV.
But yeah, and that's what you see in the TV shows and movies of rock stars. It's like it just happens, but that's not now. And I think a lot of them, they avoid the business side of it. They, oh, I just want to create, and I say, good luck to you then.
Yeah.
You know, depends on what you want. If you want a career and make money, like actually make a living as an actor, make a living as a musician, any kind of artist, you need to do a lot of things. So even successful touring musicians, session musicians, in their downtime, they still like teach guitar on the side. You have to kind of figure out how can you make a living. So you might get some money from actually doing the thing that you got into this for, but how else? You know, and everyone's concentrating on Spotify playlists, and that, again, you have to think about that promotion. You're not making money on Spotify. How can you make money? Merch. It's harder for musicians right now because their music is their thing, and now you can't make money, or you don't make money easily on your actual music. That's why all the things that I coach on and teach is even more important, because they look at someone less talented than them is being more successful. An actor less talented is getting all the auditions and gigs, and a musician, they're less talented, they're getting all this stuff. And I always say, well, why is that? Look at all the things that they're doing that you're not. You know, they're on social media. They're connecting with people. They're engaging. They have, you know, amazing photos of themselves. They have a story. They've really dug deep into who they are, and they're sharing that with the world. There's something interesting about their story. So all these things. And so it's just trying to educate artists that in the end, like, your talent is important, but there's so many other things that go into making a living at it and getting the success. So same with, you know, actors. It's like a lot of them have either they coach acting on the side, or some of them have even not a non-related. Maybe they're a yoga instructor on the side. You know, you just have to figure out how you can create a life that you can make enough money and still do everything that you love.
And I feel that, you know, once you figure that out and you're comfortable with that, and you expand more on your singing career or acting career, then it gives you that knowledge of yourself for which you can actually take action and implement something rather than something else that will make you shine more and be seen more, and then eventually get, you know, a bigger part, or be called to, you know, sing somewhere important. But it's, once again, I feel it's always, you know, the relationship with yourself and how you put yourself out there that makes a difference. And
it's also opening yourself up and taking, you know, sharing personal things, which I'm learning, I'm pushing myself to do too, and I'm not even a performer. And sometimes I think, well, you're a performer, it's easier for you, but no, It's like they sometimes want to put on a persona and still protect their private life. And I'm like, you kind of, that's how we connect to each other.
Yeah, especially now with social media. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the way to connect to other people and be seen from people that don't know who you are and are not even around you.
Yeah. And so the artist that's on social media actually engaging and connecting with people, that's how you get loyal fans, and that's how you get industry supporters, because that girl might have great music, that girl might have great music, maybe even similar music. I like both their music, but the one that makes a point of chatting with me or replying to comments, replying to this, and sharing more about their life, and you connect with them, you become so invested. You're like all about this person.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one, well, you forget about them.
Yeah.
No matter how much
everybody
you like
wants to connect somehow. Like even with the podcast, when you share the story of famous artists, people are like, oh my God, yeah. I mean, like as a musician fan, like I love music and I always followed my favorite artists, and knowing their backstories, it's something that makes you feel like, oh, it feels also like maybe you understand the song better, or you feel like, oh, that part of what they just said resonates so much with me, even if I'm not a musician. I just like music. And so it creates that connection for which you're right. You want to see them more and more, and they want to know more of you, and they want to listen or watch more of you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just getting out of your comfort zone. It's pushing your comfort zone, basically.
Yes.
And I'm pushing my own as well, sharing more. And to me, I'm probably not sharing even that much, but sometimes to me, I'm like, oh, it's so personal. But
no,
that's how you connect with people, and it gets the most engagement when you kind of put yourself out there and share, because then everyone goes,
yeah, exactly.
oh,
and I
I've
feel
done that
it's
too.
Also healing, when you share something and it's really personal, just the fact that you put yourself out there, you're a little bit vulnerable, allows you to heal from maybe something that happened to you. And when you see people connect, you're like, okay, all right, so at least this was helpful for someone because I shared.
Yeah, because then it makes everyone else comfortable sharing their thing too.
Yeah,
because maybe something they would never have shared, that artist shared it, and it's like, oh, well, I've experienced that too.
That's right. That's right. So in all your journey, is there something that you would have done differently? You said leaving earlier, but aside from that, if you could go back, would you do something differently? Or I think that's my question. Then I'm good. I had something else in mind, it slipped.
This is a tough one. Like, I don't regret anything. Like, and I also don't look back too much. I'm always more, okay, now what? Let's go. I don't dwell on the past. I don't know, because everything kind of leads you to where you are now, right?
Yeah.
Probably if I probably wasn't ready to take that risk at that time, to move to Toronto earlier. And same with, and also if I went straight to the music industry, like entertainment business school, and was a publicist at like 22, there's no way I could have done that.
Yeah.
No way. I was way too shy, and it wouldn't have been, and I wouldn't have had all these other experiences that make me good at it now.
Right.
And because it's all connected, photography, makeup, image, writing, and then publicity, promotion, social media, all of that goes into the work I do now.
Yeah.
Because I can still coach artists on, instead of just going to a photo shoot, wait, like, what do you want the final photos to look like? Your image, like, let's take a look at artists that you admire, either their image or what they say, and let's figure out, like, what is your style? So it's being able to help them with their kind of fashion image, and what their photographs are going to look like. And then writing is definitely comes in with PR writing. And so it all kind of makes me better at what I do, and also different, because most publicists don't have that background experience. Most coaches don't have that background experience. So like I have, even getting into this, you know, you look around and see who else is doing it. And it was really kind of hard to find. Like, I'm like, coaches for actors. And it's also hard that's what also makes it hard to explain to artists what it is and why they need it. Because they don't think they need it.
Yes.
They think, I have something new, let's get a publicist.
Yes. I remember when I finished my coaching certification, and when I was doing all the exercises to understand my niche, and I decided to be an intuitive and creative coach, my first thing, I was like, I want to coach artists.
Yeah.
And so I after I've done my pro bono clients, I started to go out to get clients, and I started to be rejected because they didn't understand exactly why they needed me, as you said, because they're like, yeah, but I want to leave my job and I want to be a poet or this and that. I was like, okay, fine, but to get from there to here, there is all those things that you need to do, and there is all this work on your mindset and whatever else. And I struggled so much that then I decided I had to turn that around, and I started to work with women, and it made so much more sense, and I felt way more aligned. But it's true. It's making them understand why they need you.
Yeah.
Why they need to work on themselves. Yeah.
You know, it's so hard. I even I was interviewing this actor and musician yesterday, and I was just saying I work with a lot of musicians and actors, and he's like, my deepest consultant ever. And I'm like, I know, they drive me nuts. He's like, of course they do. And I'm like, but I love them.
Yeah, I love that.
I love them. They drive me nuts, but I love them.
I love them.
Because I understand them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to, I still haven't really figured it out of how to. The only thing I think I have right now is that they want this, and they just don't know how to get it. And so that's the only thing with coaching, is I can say, I can help you get there.
Okay, so
if you
now
think about maybe of the results, I guess I think maybe that's what it is that if you can tell me what do you want in a year, I can help you break it down and show you how to get there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, then they kind of get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if it's just promotion, then they think, okay, let's promote. Like, let's skip all those steps and just do that. No.
Yeah, no, it's a process. Everything is a process. Okay, so if there is any artists in the audience that would like to get in touch with you, where can they find you? So
I am DianeFoy.com or SingDanceActThrive.com. The DianeFoy.com is a little bit more about the services, publicity, coaching, that kind of stuff. And then the Sing, Dance, Act, Thrive is kind of a resource. It's the podcast, it's Q&As with successful artists, it's, helpful blogs that I need to write more, so it's all the resources type stuff where you can learn things. And social media, I am Diane Foy PR on
Okay.
all platforms.
Okay.
So I have a Facebook group for musicians and actors called Thriving Musicians and Actors.
Okay.
So if they want to, those are some things that they can start with if they're maybe just thinking about getting into this, that you can learn some things.
Yeah, and everything will be in the show notes, or for whoever is watching on YouTube, will be passing by, but also in the show notes as well. Okay, Diane. For everybody watching and listening, considering your story and what you hear your artists, your clients talk about, what would be one piece of advice that you have, especially for women? Although I know there are a lot of men that are watching and listening to the podcast as well, but for anybody that might want to get into an artistic career or is already at the beginning, what is the thing that you feel they should know?
I think they have to figure out what they really want, because again, you waste a lot of time chasing the wrong dreams, and then figure out how to get it. You know, I've always been DIY. I've been doing everything myself, and coaching is probably the first thing that I'm like, I wish I did that earlier.
Yeah.
But I did do that earlier. I did have a coach years ago, but it wasn't a good experience. It wasn't a good match. So it kind of turned me off for that for a while. But now I say, find a coach, because it just gets you to where you want to go faster.
Yeah.
Even though it's still slow.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Yes.
It's so slow. Just because, it's like I've floated for so many years, just going with the flow, going where I thought I wanted to go, or what I wanted, or what I thought I should want, and didn't really know how to do things. So it takes a long time figuring it out, how to make a living at this, how to promote yourself, how to do this, how to do that. And now I have coaches that they already have the roadmap. And so it makes sense. It's like now I know what I want, and I know how to get there. So I'm more confident that I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
There are coaches showing me the way.
Yeah.
And then
you think in a different way, because like a coach will ask you questions and will help you see things that not necessarily you're able to see or to understand about yourself or certain situations. So it's that help from every corner that you need when you want to get
and just
somewhere.
also to have feedback on something, because maybe you think everything is great, but then an outside person would go, oh, but what about this? You know, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah.
And I think before, goal setting was, okay, I want this, and I never really had a plan to get there.
Yeah.
Like I could tell you what I want, and I figured out along the way, and sometimes, and I've had amazing experiences, but I call them, I stumbled upon them.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I couldn't repeat the process. I don't know how it is. So the thing with coaching is finding the right coach who understands you. But the same thing, I kind of coach musicians and actors. It's pretty much the same process I did for myself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think a personal experience always helps to coach better, because you know how you went through your fears and your struggles and how you came out of that stronger. And you know that if you do certain things, it will help you. Absolutely. I do that with my clients. You know, we all go through struggles and fears and situations. So when you go through that, you pass that, and then you're able to do something better or feel better or resolve a situation, then you kind of have like a blueprint of how to do it. Yeah.
And then I follow coaches that know they've had experiences and know things that I don't. So they're showing me their way, right?
Yeah.
And it's just finding the right coach for you that makes sense, that has the experience that you need, has the guidance, and that you click with. Like,
Yeah,
we gotta feel
I
comfortable with
completely
them.
agree. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Diane, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure to hear your story and to understand what you do. And if there is any artist out there, go check her out because you might need her.
You need me. Thank you so much. It's been
Thank
great.
you. I hope you enjoyed this conversation I had with Diane. And if there is any artist out there, well, maybe just go check her out. And if you want to get in touch with me, as usual, just go to my website, theintuitionqueen.com, subscribe to the newsletter, subscribe to the podcast, and you can also find me on Instagram, The Intuition Queen, and go check out my offers. I offer a coaching program and one-off sessions, card therapy, card reading, or intuitive sessions, whatever feels right for you. And if you have any questions, just send me a message and I'll be here for you. I'm also here to do a free coaching session. If you're thinking of signing up for my 4 months program, we can figure out how to get you to your vision and how to help you to trust your intuition, so then you can feel free to use your creativity however you want and find the career that you like and everything that makes sense for you. All right, so thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you next week.
Your future's at the door.